Hi guys, welcome to Always Yarn First, my podcast about knitting, crochet, and general love and appreciation for all things yarny. I'm Lindsay. If you're new here, I live in Little Rock, Arkansas with my family. I'm a stay-at-home mom and I love knitting and music. So I name all my episodes after a fitting song title for that episode. So this week's name, I picked Crazy Lucky by Better Than Ezra. So I will have a link to that song below. Okay, so the reason I chose this song title this week is one, you'll see in acquisitions, I have received 2 packages from make-alongs that I have won, which is insane, just timing. And then there's also something which we're not going to talk about this time, but there's some exciting collaboration, maybe would you call it that, that I have coming up with Lori at Arkansas Yarn Co. So I'm really excited about. I'm going to wait to really talk about it the next podcast, though, when I have a definite date in mind. So anyways, like I said, I will link that below. So speaking of make-alongs, a reminder, or like I said, if this is your first podcast of mine you're watching, I am hosting a year-long make-along. So you just need to use the hashtag on Instagram /mystash2022MAL. So every month I will be pulling a prize from my personal stash. So January is this yarn by Woolberry. And I also got some Progress Keepers that I got from Lori. So I'll be including one of those also every month. So no real huge requirements for it. It's just you have to be working on a project. It doesn't have to be finished yet, but actively working on. Take a picture of it. Use the hashtag. It has to have yarn from before this year. So pretty easy right now in January. If you just got something, then wouldn't count. But I'm using the term, let's fall in love with our stash again. As you'll see in acquisitions, that doesn't mean you can't add to your stash. But let's use some things up that we've held on to for a while. So I'm just trying to encourage that and pass along some of those things maybe that we don't love as much as we used to, or isn't our color, or something like that. So I'm really excited about the hashtag, and I've seen a few others really excited about it. So use the hashtag this month. You'll have a chance to win this yarn. It's beautiful green. Okay, so let's talk about what I'm wearing first. And I apologize if you hear my dog's tippy taps. She's walking all around, and my husband's in the next room playing games with his brother. So you might hear that too, so I apologize in advance. So what I'm wearing is the lounging top by Locatelli. This was knit out of Madeline Tosh Sport Weight. I just used 2 skeins, and it was in the colorway Callisto. Funny thing about this project is I started this in September 2018, and if any of you have done a Locatelli sweater before, at least almost all the ones that I have done of hers, she has really interesting construction. She usually starts at the top, and then you work like this right here, and then you work this, and then you work the back flat, and then you connect it. It's real interesting, like startup construction. And I was fairly new in my sweater knitting for sure at that point, and I was having a hard time with the instructions. It was just, I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I was doing it, and I finally did get so far, and then I was at an instruction where I couldn't understand. So I stopped for quite a while. In fact, I think I picked it up a year later. Like, it was one of those where you stick it in a bag and then you like throw it in a closet or a corner, something, and you're like, I can't deal with that problem right now. So I picked it up and finished it out. I read the instruction then, and I had knit enough other things where it made sense. Totally got it, no problem. Still used the needles that was on it. The only problem as I got going is realizing my gauge had drastically changed in this pattern. The good news is it didn't really affect the finished object. I will put a picture in. But the back side on the top, my gauge is huge. My stitches are very big. When you look at it right now, it kind of looks like a design element, like just that top part has bigger stitches and then it all evens out the rest of the sweater. And because it doesn't really have sleeves, it, didn't affect the fit. It fits really nicely and I love it. But I renamed it in my Ravelry thread the Franken tee because I couldn't believe how much my gauge had changed. Just crazy. So I actually finished it in May of 2020. So nearly 2 years after I started it. So, but like I said, I love this top. I love the yarn. I really love Malintosh yarn. A lot of my sweaters are DK or sport weight Malintosh, and they really have held up through the years. So that is what I am wearing. All right, so let's get into what I've been working on since my last podcast. So let's start with a quick one. I've barely worked on my Scrappy Blanket, which is the Scrappy Granny pattern by Natty. I literally finished one square. So these are from Row 1 Minis. I get a subscription every month, and I do all of those 10 colors I get each month, place them together, and then I do 2 white squares that I got of Knit Picks yarn, and then I sew them together to make one big strip. So I have enough to make another strip, I just haven't attached them yet. So this is the first one of my current set I'm working on. Not super exciting by itself. Okay, so last time I showed that I finished a sock. Don't have a sock blocker right in front of me. So I had finished this Yellowstone sock. This yarn is by Woolberry Fiber in the colorway Yellowstone. Because I usually make vanilla socks, anytime I name them in Ravelry, I just name them by the color because they're like all vanilla socks. So I just call these my Yellowstone socks because that's the colorway name. In her berry sock set, 80% merino, 20% nylon, and the mini came with the set. So I had just finished that first sock last time, and now I am past the heel on the second sock. So usually in my brain, once I get past the heel, the rest is like nothing. It's so quick, it's so easy, and I'll get this done very fast. So yeah, and I'm excited because those are getting knit for a friend of mine. I love this colorway, and I don't use a lot of yarn. I mean, I don't feel like I have their true shorty socks, but I don't like my legs bigger than like this. The longest I like is from the heel to the start, or from the cuff to the start of the heel, like 4 inches in length. That's about as long as I want my leg. Other than that, it's too much. So I will have enough to make myself or my daughter a pair of socks if I want to. There will be plenty of yarn. Like I said, I find that I actually really enjoy dyers that sell in 50 gram skeins because that is plenty for me to make a pair of socks. So, all right, let's see. I've also worked on my Alei shawl. Last time I showed this, I had just finished the section with the striping. Let's see. So you'll see I just finished the last white stripe right before I recorded last time. So I've made a few inches worth of progress here. It really is funny, you know, when you have a knitting journal, if you write down every day what your projects is, I don't know how many people actually do that. I mentioned in my episode 1, I kind of briefly showed my last year journal. I love doing it just because I think it's so interesting. Like, because I have different projects, like after the podcast, I was really in the mood to knit on this. I was just feeling this. That's what I was knitting on the most. And pretty much all of this progress was right after the podcast. But I don't think I've worked on it at all this week. So it was last week, I worked on it a ton. And then this week I'm like, no, not really feeling it. But that's okay. That's how I enjoy knitting. I like to knit on what I like to knit on, when I like to knit on it, because it's meant to be enjoyable, right? So knit on what you want. I mean, I still make myself goals, which we'll get into talking about a little bit more, but I love being able to change things up. And if I feel bored, then I just switch projects. I have never truly experienced, you know, I've seen other knitters how they've said that they've lost their motivation of knitting. And I've never had that. And I'm not sure if it's because I have so many different projects. Now, I definitely will have a mode where I won't touch a project for months just because I'm like, no, I don't want to touch it. No reason. Still love it. Still love the yarn. Still love the pattern. Just not feeling it. Whether it's the size of the needles, the stitches I'm doing, who knows? But I never get bored because I can always switch what I'm doing. So I feel like that kind of keeps my motivation stable because there's always something different to work on. But again, let me know if you guys do that too. I'm curious. So this one is another project, again, I worked on quite a bit since the last podcast. This is my Autumn League pullover. So let me show you from the front, remind you what it looks like. This is that pattern that just looks like it's supposed to look like just a nice oversized sweatshirt. It has that little detail in the front right there. And I'm using Hedgehog Fibers Tweedy yarn. And I love this because it's like has the gray of like, you know, a sweatshirt. But it has the pops of color that are so fun. So last time, I don't know if last time I was even at the sleeve separation, but you can see here where my little marker is, and I worked on this quite a bit. So I got past the sleeve separation, so this is one of those patterns where I am just now knitting in the round. So this is my watching TV with my daughter at night, knitting without having to look, just until I get a certain length that I want on my sweater. So this is the easy, I don't want to have to think about it or take it to knit night, or I can take it when I'm visiting with someone and don't have to count or worry about anything. I and I'm really, really excited to have this one. So, oh, just look at the tweed back here and like the sparkle, the bits of sparkle and stuff. Oh, it's so good. I love this yarn. I love it. So this one's super fun. You'll see I have another stitch marker of Lori's. This one's in blue from Arkansas Yarn Co. And I have these on, let's see, do I have this one here? The Knitting Barber. For those of you who haven't heard of these, they're these amazing little tubes. And you can stick your needles in here. You can use them for a few different things. One, like I'm using them here. And when I come time to pick up stitches, I actually, on one end, instead of picking it up with the needle and going around, I can just stick the head of my needle here and knit right off of this without having to pick up all of these or put it back on the needle. And the other use that is so good is it has one long one where if I want to try this on right now, I just stick them on the edge of these needles and basically I can move my stitches out and I have like a big old expanded so I can try this on. It is amazing. So there they are, the Knitting Barber cords. They come with like 3 cords in there, like 2 smaller ones, 1 big one. So those are awesome. All right, so another one I've been working on that you guys actually haven't seen before. It is not a new cast on. I have actually talked about it in passing, but I haven't been working on it. Any of you have any guesses what it is? This is in another Mrs. Brown's bag. I love this one, the Bee Splat. Love this. All right, this is my husband's sweater. And this is not going to look super exciting, but I finally made some good progress and I'm real excited about it. So, this is it. Looks like a big old nothing, right? Okay, so I'm going to put the pattern up on the screen so you can see what the pattern actually is going to look like. This is called the Rebel Alliance sweater pullover. So this is a bottom-up sweater. My husband's a very tall guy, so obviously bottom up just means a lot of body knitting. I will say, if you can tell, I'm super proud of the stitch definition in this, though. I mean, it's boring looking, but man, it looks good. I'm super proud of how it looks, and it feels nice. And this yarn is Knit Picks. Let me see. I can bring up what it is. This is Knit Pick Stroll. Or no, Gloss DK, sorry. Gloss DK. So DK weight. This is in the color River Rock. So, as you can see from the picture, this is a Star Wars sweater, a color work sweater. So, right now it looks super boring, but what's super exciting is, so you can see I have my Death Star Progress Keeper here. This is from Fangirl Fibers. She had, I think in the end of 2020, she had a kit that came with basically white and black yarn and the Death Star thing, and it was to make Star Wars mitts or fingerless gloves. I still have the yarn. I didn't use it for the pattern, but I still have it. So this is, even though you haven't seen it, from the time I picked it up this last time, this is where I was. So the really exciting part is I finally got to the length I needed. So now I am past the sleeves. So for this sweater, basically when I get to my length, I'm knitting flat now, so you can see right here I have where I'm just knitting back and forth with some decreases in here. So I only do that, I'm almost at my stitch total that I need on this for the front, and then I will start the color work. And I hope that the color work will be more motivating. You know, it's kind of like switching colors in your yarn or color work. It's actually exciting. So even if you don't love it so much, it keeps you motivated to do it because it's fun to kind of like see it unfold. So I'm really hoping that the color work is going to excite me to keep at it. And ironically, I didn't even plan this, but the yarn I'm using for the color work, if you see in the picture, it's not like a straight color. It kind of has some variegation. So I'm actually using, this is my leftover yarn from this sweater. It's the lounging top sweater. So this is the Madeline Tosh Sport Calypso. And I thought it was enough. It kind of reminded me of the color they're kind of using in that, with like a white, cream, with bits of brown, yellow, blue. So this is going to be the color for the color work section. Well, technically the blue will make the color work, but then basically the background color will turn into this. So I am not going to do the lightsabers part, but I am planning on doing C3PO and R2D2. You'll see on the sleeves. So I'm really excited about it. I'm happy that I'm finally making progress on it. It's been a long time coming. Again, let's see, I started this sweater January of last year. So it has sat for a long time. And I'm going to talk about this sweater in goals for the month. Speaking of goals. So that's the Rebel Alliance sweater. So who knows, maybe my husband will get to wear it once before winter's officially over. We'll see. We'll see. All right, what else am I working on? Oh, okay. I have one other thing I've been working on, and again, like last time, this is a brand new cast on. So you haven't seen this. All right, so you know that I'm friends with Maddie and Kristen of We Share Needles, and they announced that they are doing a knit along currently, and it's called the Shawl Along, and obviously you have to make a shawl. So to kind of go with my yearly goals of sticking with, you know, projects I want to make and, you know, yarn I want to use for my stash. I don't wear a lot of shawls, which I think I've mentioned. I love making them. But I find that I don't wear them a lot. So what I did is I went through my Ravelry queue to see if there was ones that I'd already put in there like I really wanted. And there was. And even better, there was one that is a one skein shawl, which is great. So I got a yarn from my stash. And I don't know if you're going to see the sparkle in this, but this yarn is so good. This is, of course, from Lori of Arkansas Yarn Co. And this is her colorway Some Pig. It was used for a little toy pig, which I wasn't going to make, but I had to have this pink. So this is in her Yummy Sparkle base. So this is Some Pig, and I just have one skein of it, so this was perfect. And I am making the Lightweight Hipster by Joji Locatelli. Now, because of the way that curves with the garter tab cast on, it's not super attractive the way it is, but you can see these. Oh, that sparkle is so good. So I cast this on, and I've just been kind of plugging along on this. Yeah, I obviously love Joji Locatelli patterns. I've made a lot of her stuff. And I made another one of her one skein shawls that is one of my favorites. In fact, my daughter's been stealing it quite a bit lately, called the Storm Shawl, which is really good. And I just think with this, I find that I don't buy a lot of like tonal colors. I buy a lot of speckles, a lot of crazy variegated. And I think this one is just going to go with so much stuff. It's just going to be wearable because one, it's going to be light. It's going to be a one skein, so it's going to be lightweight. And I live in the South and I'm hot-blooded, so that's going to be good. Kind of like the Storm Shawl. And the color is just going to blend with so much stuff. So I'm actually really excited to do this. So if you are doing the Sha-La-La along with Natty and Kristen of We Share Needles, and you're looking for a pattern, this is one skein. Surely you have something in your stash you can grab. And then you can enter it for the Slash My Stash make along. I'm hosting too and double dip. So that is that. And it is in my Fringe Supply Co. La Bien Aimée signature yellow color bag. All right, so I have one more thing, I think. Yes, one more thing that I've made. So again, this is cast on and completed since the last podcast. So this is a headband. And I love this. I'm actually going to try it on because I love this. Yes, I live in the South, but I have super sensitive ears. I've always had ear problems, so if it's cold at all, I gotta cover my ears when I go out so I don't get like an infection or anything. This headband, it fits perfect. I love it so much. So, and this is a free pattern. So this is called the Woven Cable Headband. And the yarn I used is actually part of a prize I won from a make-along. I won this yarn from Professor Pearl, and it is Manos del Uruguay Wool Classica in the colorway Grove. So it's an Aran weight yarn. So I got one skein of an Aran weight yarn, and I was looking to put it away in my stash, and I'm like, what am I going to do with an Aran weight yarn? Like, especially one skein, like, there's nothing I can make for that. So I literally went looking for a pattern to use this yarn because I really love the color. And I was a little nervous with the cables that this heavy variegated would not go well, but I think it looks awesome. And it is so comfy. So this was a great pattern. And like I said, this was a free pattern, so even better. And I have all my projects on my Ravelry in there that you can find me. I didn't mention you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Always Yarn First, so easy to remember. But I will have the links below where you can find me. So this was a great so the yarn didn't really have to go in my stash at all, and this is something I have already used, so I will use. Even if I don't wear a winter coat, I will wear a headband. So I love this very much. So that kind of brings us into acquisitions. So this was obviously one acquisition I got, and so let's go into what I received. So, hopefully I kept everything in here. Tried to. Alright, so I mentioned that I got a skein of this yarn from Professor Pearl. I also got some stitch markers. Really pretty. And this is amazing. I want an entire interchangeable needle set. So this is Knit Picks Options. And for now, I'm going to hold on to these. I have, I think 4. No. 5. No, 4 or 5 interchangeable needle sets. I have the Cailliau small set. I have 2 of those. A 4-inch tip and a 6-inch tip. And then I have the larger size of the Cailliau needles interchangeable set. And then I have the Leica bamboo interchangeable set. And then, now this I purchased. I actually thought these were going to be a copy of these, which I bought. Again, they are Knit Picks Options, but these ones I got, they have the different sizes, but the cords on each of these needles, it ends up to be 16 inches. So they're perfect for hats. And for me, I use them for sleeves. They are exactly the right size, and I love them. So technically, I've used the options before. I love these ones with the 16-inch. But this is a whole needle set. So that was so generous of Nicole. And because I have so many sets, this might eventually be a prize on my podcast to share the wealth with one of you. So we'll hold on to it for now and see down the line. But I do love those needles. All right, so then the other one I also won. Oh, the Nicole I didn't mention. I won that from the Love Note Love Cal, where I made a Love Note sweater. So I won that from her. And then I participated in making hats for the Cozy Up Knits podcast. It had to be one of their patterns. And both of these make-alongs were from months ago. The package from Nicole actually was floating around the U.S. for 3 weeks before I got it. And then the other package from Cozy Up Knits, they're from Canada, so it takes a little bit longer for me to get it. But, oh, I love this package so much. Love it. Okay, I got a set of 5 minis. And, oh, this is from Dire Wolf Yarn Co., also in Canada. And this is her fall mini skein set. So I don't know if she still has this or not. She has an Etsy shop. And she has the different colors, but I don't know which one is which. So these are fingering weight 85-15 merino nylon. But the twist, I don't know if you can see the twist on this. It is incredible feeling. So I'm not a super purple person. It's probably one of my least favorite colors, but I'm thinking with these 3, I'm going to make scrappy socks eventually because they're just so good. You know, kind of like a light to medium to dark. It's so good. So, and then I also got this cute little bag with little RVs on it and like a matching progress keeper. Adorable. Inside. So now their mom is a bag maker. So I'm not positive. I'm kind of guessing that maybe their mom made this bag. I think her shop is Bags by JoJo, but I will look it up and I will link it below. But this is so cute. And I've been needing like a this size bag for like if I go to knit night and I just want to bring a couple accessories or tools to throw in there. So this was perfect timing. So that's what I have won. Now, I did get some things in the mail that I purchased. So first of all, I already talked about my row 1 minis. This is the one regular subscription I get. I get it every month. And it's going into my Scrappy Granny blanket that will go on my bed. Long-term project. But these are what I use for my Scrappy Granny squares. So I'm not going to open them yet, so I'm sorry about the crinkle ahead of time. But here. This is my favorite side. Those crazy, bright, variegated. Love them. Alright, so this month's yarn is by the dyer 398, which I have never heard of. It is a 75 superwash merino, 25% nylon, 4-ply yarn. The dyer is Kelsey Baker, and she is from Branson, Missouri. So I am excited to use those. And then, as always, it came with a piece of candy, which my daughter nabbed immediately. And then it always comes with a little progress keeper stitch marker, if I can get it out, which is just the year, essentially. Come on. Which says 2022. So I love that. So that is my subscription I got. All right. Then I bought some things. Now, I bought these things a month ago, at least a month ago. Well, I bought some things yesterday, but a month ago, let's talk about stash. Previously, when we talked about the stash make-along, I had talked about my goals for my stash, but remember, I did say that doesn't mean I'm not going to buy yarn. I do want to be more mindful. Why am I buying yarn? Am I just buying a bunch of one skeins because I like them? I want to be buying things that either I can buy in multiple skeins, where I can make something besides just having a skein, or something that I could maybe blend with what I have in my stash to make like something marled with stash I already have, or striping with stash I already have, something to combine. That is the case. And then Uloho had a sale. Now, what was cool about her sale is she was basically clearancing some special collections she had last year, her summer jams collection, different things like that, colors that they were getting rid of, and she was having a sale, and she had grab bags. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in a small town, not much going on. We used to have a day in the summer, I don't even know what it was for, honestly, but like the main street would close down, and like all of our stores, which weren't super fancy by any means, would have special things that they would sell for that day. You know, the bakery would make up special donuts or cookies and things, and then the drugstore, the pharmacy on Main Street, would make grab bags. I mean, and when you're young, you're like, who cares about a pharmacy? But I have always been a sucker for a grab bag, which probably is a little bit, why I'm in the problem I am with the single stashes, the single skeins from my stash. Because mystery box, grab bags, I really am a sucker. But I will say, one thing about Nicole from Uloho, first of all, she's one of the dyers. I don't think I've ever looked at a color of hers and been, that is hideous. I like every single color she has made. And I usually hold back a lot because there's so many colors I love of hers where I'm like, I can't have every one. There's just no way. And she did a really cool thing with the grab bag situation where she allowed you, they had already made up the grab bags. They were basically 3 skeins in a grab bag. and they had already pre-made them when it went up. However, you could, after you placed your order, type an email, put your order number, and say things like, I hate bright colors, like, I like more neutral tones, or something like that, and they were going to try their best to pick out one that would work for you. So basically what I had put is that I'm not a real fan of jewel tones, and I am okay with bright colors. So I got a grab bag, and here is what I got. And what's really funny about this, let me go ahead and take it out so it's not glaring. Sorry about the crinkle. What's really funny about this, if you've ever tried to plan a fade from your stash or at a yarn store, the advice I always hear is see if they have that color in a different skein. So if you look closely, I mean, you have to kind of reach for it, but look at this one, that bright yellow. Do you see it? That bright yellow is in this one. Now, take away this one. Look at this one. You have those tans, those light blues, I mean, right there at the top. You could make a fade. Now, it would be a funky fade, but I would totally do it. I could totally make a fade out of this and would have no problem with it. I think that is so cool. And I ordered a skein, just a skein of yarn that I'd been eyeing. For those that know me, the colors I tend to buy over and over and over again, blues, because that's my favorite color, and pinks. Either like bright pink or like dirty pink, soft pink, like the some pig color I showed you. So I bought this color. It is called Sassy Narwhal. And then, so this one was just like I bought it on the store regular. The other three were in a grab bag. But then look at this. Do you see that pink at the top of this one? I was like, what in the world? So I could, look at from pinks to yellows to those blues. Okay, I know it's a reach, but seriously. I mean, tell me some of you see it, right? Anyways, so I was obviously very happy with my order. So that was Hue Loco. And like I said, besides this one, the other ones are colorways that have gone away now. I think everything's sold out from that sale. So the last thing I have to show for acquisitions is yesterday, if you follow me on Instagram, I went over to Arkansas Yarn Co. for the day and just hung out. I was going to say I was going to knit. I brought things to knit, but I just had so much fun visiting with Lori and Anna, and then they put me to work a little bit, which was awesome. So I had the best time, and I feel like I restrained myself pretty well. Okay, so I bought 3 things. First of all, if you recall the hat I showed the last podcast that I had gotten from Lori, with the beads on it. I still have a full skein and a part of a skein left that I didn't use from that yarn. Lori has been showing off the beads she used for hers, and I said, you need to pull one back for me. So I bought these ridiculously shiny beads. So I'm going to use the rest of my yellow that I previously bought and make a hat for myself. The other one was a gift for a friend. So I bought the beads. And then Lori had a book and yarn together from Kathleen Fuller. And I didn't buy the book, but I bought the yarn that she had dyed for that combo. And again, it comes with one of her signature. I'm collecting every color. I make sure I have all of them. So this one's like a coffee brown because the story is about a coffee shop. And the colorway is called Much Ado About a Latte, and that is the name of the book too. So you can go on her website. She still has, you can buy just this, the yarn, you can buy just the book, or you can buy the combo. And she still has them. And of course, like I said, blue's my favorite color. So of course I bought one. This is a DK weight. And I believe if you buy the book and the yarn together, it comes with a pattern. The pattern is for a cowl. Last book the author wrote, which is the first in the series, was about the yarn store that was based on Lori's store. And the yarn she dyed for that, it came with a hat pattern. And I did make that one. This one, I think I'm going to make DK weight socks for me because I love the color so much. And I've been wanting another pair of DK socks. Just shorty, like sandal socks, slipper socks. So I bought that. And then Lori's store, if you've ever been to Arkansas Yarn Co., in the back of the store, she is where she dyes the yarn. And you're able to walk back there and see where the magic happens. And of course, because I was back there helping them work, I, nosed around and looked at, sometimes there's skeins of yarn. I'm like, well, what is this yarn? Well, who's this going to? So I found this yarn. Now, granted, it does kind of look similar to this, but this one is like a more tealy colored blue. And it has like pops of like rust colored in it. So this is out of her Yummy Plush. This does not have a name on it. I think she said she was going to name it something about Yellowstone Park, but it didn't have a name yet. There was like 3 skeins laying there, and I'm like, I have to have one of those. So that's why you should go visit her store, because you don't know what jewels she's holding on to back there. So, and this one, I don't know if I said this is Merino DK. So, and that is all I purchased from Lori's store. Like I said, I showed pretty great restraint. I did get another skein of yarn from her. So this, I call it her signature pink. This is a roller derby color. And it's in DK. I'm going to make a sample that's going to go back to her for our upcoming exciting thing happening. Just giving you a little tease. So I'll probably cake this up as soon as I'm done with podcasting so I can work on this. So that is all of my acquisitions, I think. Yes. Let's see. So let's talk briefly goals. So I had mentioned that my podcast, once a month I'll probably talk goals, and then another time a month I'm going to do like a top 3 list. Well, January is one of those weird months where I'm going to have 3 podcasts in the month. So I did mention, my year goals last podcast. So I just figured I would mention the monthly goals. I like to make reasonable goals for myself monthly. So I know I've showed this. This is my knitting journal for the year. So this is a little bit different. This is actually a planner. Last year I bought just a notebook, and every day I would write what projects that I worked on. Not how much, just the name of them, just so I know, well, today I worked on this. I haven't worked on that in a while. So I'm decided to use a planner this year because I had so many empty pages left. It felt like it was a waste. So we'll see how this goes. So I will show you right here. This is January. So what I'm doing is in the calendar space, I write the name of each pattern I'm working on. I've touched that day. So sometimes I just do a pattern. Sometimes I touch five different whips that day. I also, write the day I cast them on or the day that I've finished them. And then at the top, the page here, I'm writing my yarn in and yarn out. And so again, I mentioned that kind of on my yearly goal where I'm just kind of calculating by full skeins, either 50 gram skeins or 100 gram skeins that comes in. And then when I finish a project, like for instance that headband, I didn't use every scrap of yarn, but I used enough of it where to me like the skein isn't up here in my stash. It's now like in a scrap pile. So to me that's a yarn out. So that's how I keep track of that. And my goal is the end of the year to have more yarn out than in. You can see I'm failing at that very badly right now. And there's a couple more things coming in a few weeks. So, and then at the back of my book, because I do have a few note pages, I have my yearly goals wrote down. I'm going to have a page for make-alongs that I might, not contribute, make-alongs that I might participate in. And then I did this last year in my notebook where all my finished objects, I take a picture, I stick it here, I write the pattern name, the date I started, the date I finished, and then I have this cute little sticker here, a yarn ball with a number 1. I can't remember, I got that on an Etsy store, I can't remember the name, but I will find that and link that below. And if she doesn't have it posted, I emailed her, because last year she has like 1 to 30 on one page, but I did more than 30 projects, so I asked if she could make another whole page with like 31 to 60, and she did. So I just emailed her again and be like, hey, can I get those same stickers again? And she did, no problem. So I will link that below. Okay, so every month I do just a couple of goals to reach for. So this month my January goals are to finish the body of my autumn leaf pullover, which I think won't be a problem as long as I don't just put it away for the next 2 weeks. Finish my Yellowstone socks, which again, I'm on the second sock past the heel, so that should not be a problem. Finish another strip worth of row 1 minis. So I mentioned I have square 1, which means I need 11 more squares to have another strip worth. So that is doable. These do not take very long to do. It's just, I think what I need to do is schedule a day where I'm just working on granny squares, because the more you do them, the faster you are. So if I did a few in a row, they would just fly. So that's another goal. And then a goal I mentioned before, and I know other podcasters have mentioned, like Crazy Sock Lady, Knitty Natty, is 30 minutes of knitting. So to me, what that means is 30 minutes of knitting that I normally wouldn't want to necessarily do. So that is my husband's sweater. Now that is how I have gotten so much done, because maybe, let's see, in my book, I picked it up January 5th, and I've worked it on every single day for 30 minutes, every single day. So that has been my 30 minutes of knitting. Usually for me, because the mornings are the most relaxing time. I have my coffee, I watch my podcasts. I sit here, and the first 30 minutes of knitting is that sweater. And then once that's done, I knit on whatever I want. And it's done for the day. So that doesn't mean that I plan on getting to a certain point. It's just that I want to continue, at least for this month. That is my 30 minutes of knitting per day, is the Rebel Alliance sweater. So again, so far I've pretty much stuck with that. So all these totally doable goals. So I'm curious if you guys have goals like that. Do you do it for the week, for the month, or just when you're at a certain point in your project, do you like, okay, I want to get this done this week? I like hearing what other people do as far as that. So that is my January goals. All right, so I have one more thing I want to talk about quickly, which is dream knitting, which we all have, right? It's like the precursor to cast-on-itis, as I call it, which is things either that maybe you've seen on Instagram or you've seen your friends casting on, or it's a sweater that you have the yarn for, you have the pattern for, you're ready to go, but you're like, oh, I should really finish a different sweater first. That kind of stuff. Okay, so I have 2 currently. One, again, if you follow me on Instagram, you actually saw me caking up this yarn and saying I was casting on, which I did cast on, technically, but then something wasn't right, and so I took cast on out, and then it got set aside. I really been telling myself I need to finish a sweater before I start another sweater, but I want to make this so bad, and that is my Lawrenson sweater, which is this one. And again, speaking of crazy hot pink, I mean, seriously. Lori specialty dyed this for me. I mean, this is her roller derby, to give you an idea of the difference. And this is the one she dyed for me, because I said I wanted it even brighter neon. So, and she did an awesome job. So this literally is in a bag, also a pink bag, by Sandy by the Lakeside bag. I have my yarn caked up. I have my correct needles in there because I had actually even already did a test to see if my gauge was right, and it was. And I have my pattern right here. I'm literally ready to go. But, you know, some days you have the self-control to not cast on. Some days you don't. So I did cast it on, but then there was a problem. And then I talked myself back into reality, like, okay, just wait till you're done with at least the body of your Autumn League pullover. Then cast it on. So that is one of my dream knittings. The second one's a little bit different. So as I was working on the shawl with that lace work there, I really realized how much I missed lace knitting. So before I ever started knitting sweaters, I knit lace shawls with like fingering weight yarn and really enjoyed it. And there was one shawl particularly that I had started and gotten a good portion done before I made some kind of big error and like I just couldn't figure out for the life of me. And that's the problem with lace shawls or lace patterns is it is sometimes you know immediately when you've done something wrong because the stitches aren't stacking right, but sometimes it's hard to figure out how to fix it. And this was years ago. I had signed up for a bunch of classes on Craftsy online, and one of them was with Laura Nelkin. I think it was Mastering Lace Shawls. And it came with 2 patterns in the class, and this was one of them. And I will put a picture in. It was called the Skywalker Shawl. So again, Star Wars theme. It had like the different Star Wars ships in it as the lace work. And I have this yarn in my stash. This is from Mace of Skeins, Macy. This is her diamond figuring, 75 merino, 20 nylon, 5% stellina in the colorway Showtime, the red sparkle. Red doesn't necessarily look good on clothes with me, I don't think, but I thought red for a Star Wars shawl would just be perfect. And this is 438 yards, which should be enough for the whole shawl. It is like a half circle, a half pie shawl. And I feel like I want to try it again. So again, I printed out the pattern again, and I'm really excited. I don't know when I'll cast it on, but I've gotten the yarn out, and I literally, what I do is I put it in a bag or I write on it what it's made for, and I keep it set aside. So that's my dream knitting, which I'm really excited about. So I think that's it for today. This was, I think, a long one. What about you guys? What are you guys making? What goals do you have right now? Do you have dream knitting that you're trying to show self-control and wait on? I want to hear about it. I really, really enjoy your comments, both on Instagram and on YouTube here on the podcast. I appreciate you guys so much. And I hope you'll join me in the make-along. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.